Hello, my name is Sarah. Welcome to the It is a Sarah podcast. In this week's Vloggy episode, I want to share my handwerk perikelen, that's a Dutch word for my creative adventures from this week with you. I'm coming to you from the Netherlands, so excuse my Dutchy English. I love to knit, I love to crochet, and I love to talk, so that's the perfect combination for making this podcast. I make my episodes in Dutch and in English, so be sure you pick the right one. You can watch both episodes with subtitles if you want to. If you are missing subtitles in a specific language, please let me know and I will check if I can add them. I quit using the automatically generated voiceovers YouTube offers. They were causing a lot of confusing for quite some viewers, and they also didn't really match the vibe I want my episodes to have. I really am sorry for those who are missing the voiceovers. I hope I maybe find a good matching solution in the future. Before I dive into the knitting and a little bit of embroidery, I want to take you with me on a walk. As you can see, all the snow we had last week disappeared. It's thawing. I think you say it in English like that. In Dutch we call it dooien. The temperature is above 0 degrees, so all the snow is gone and it's really muddy right now. It's actually more the kind of typical Dutch winter weather, and I must confess I didn't miss the mud on my leg warmers and my shoes and my tights. But it's not cold anymore, so I can go outside without a coat. I'm wearing my remake of my thrifted cardigan, and let me see, I'm also wearing my crochet lowrider cardigan, fingerless mittens, a shawl and my balaclava. I think this is my favorite winter outfit. A lot of woolly layers which are keeping me warm. Back home, I changed my muddy leg warmers for a clean, fresh second pair. I have 2 pair of leg warmers. I don't know what it is with leg warmers, but I just love wearing them. I have a very strong memory from myself as a small child. I think I was 4 years old, and I was going to the kleuterschool. That's how we call it in the Netherlands. I think in America you call it kindergarten. I'm not quite sure. The class for the 4 and the 5-year-olds. And I remember myself standing in front of the school door wearing leg warmers. And yeah, it felt very safe wearing leg warmers. So I still have that safe feeling, and of course it's nice and warm. I really want to make another one. I never use patterns for my leg warmers. I just cast on a certain amount of stitches. I like them to be very long and very slouchy, and actually also to not be very colorful. I wear my black ones the most. These are a little bit of brownie black, and that's exciting enough for me. It can happen in the socks, the colors. This week is actually quite exciting for me knitting wise, because I think I can finally finish my Advent project and I can share all the details about it with you. I normally share my details on the go, but for this one I saved them for today. I will explain it, but before I will show you what I'm actually making, I want to bring you back a little bit earlier and show you the yarns I'm using. My 2025 yarn advent calendar was a very special one because it was dyed by my friend Marlies, also a Dutch crocheter and a beginner knitter, and it was only available for our small group of knitting friends. Marlies is a very creative person. She studied art history in her 20s, and last year in 2024 she dyed her own advent calendar. In the Netherlands you have a company which is called Draadkracht, and they offer advent calendars you can dye yourself, and Marlies decided she wanted to do that. She had a little bit of experience with dyeing. She followed some workshops and she played a little bit around with it, and she decided she wanted to dye her own advent calendar, and she based her colorways on paintings she found in one of her art books. And during Advent 2024, she shared daily videos in our Knitting Friends chat, in which she was unpacking her hand-dyed skein and telling the stories about the painting it was based on, and we really love those little tiny videos. It were actually heart-jumping moments every day, and we begged her if she want to dye an advent calendar in 2025 for all of us, doing the same, basing it on paintings and sharing daily stories with little videos while we were unpacking our own yarns. Lucky us, she was just as excited as we were, and she decided to accept the challenge and made an advent calendar for our small group of knitting friends. We didn't have any information more than she used a base of non-superwash merino, and that was all. We had no idea what kind of color she would use, if there would be a theme or whatever. We all knew that Marlies is a very colorful person. She really loves color, so we expected quite some color, but we didn't know anything more than that. We received our advent calendars end of October, and one of my friends was immediately doing some sneak peeking, and I was really surprised, and I had a very strong feeling, no, you're not allowed to sneak peek already, it must be a surprise. And I realized that didn't make sense, because everyone is allowed to do with an advent calendar she wants to, but apparently I thought I was not allowed to do it myself. And although I never felt the need for taking sneak peeks before, I realized that I want to try to do it myself as well, because I wanted to know how it felt. Would I be disappointed by already knowing what I would receive in December or not? I realized the only way of knowing what was my favorite way of treating my advent calendar, patiently waiting until December or just open it at once, I only would know when I tried both ways. So I decided to open it at once. I didn't share that with my friends, but I did make a little video which I shared when Advent was over. I will show you a little part of that video. So we go back to I think the end of October. You can see my lowrider jumper is still drying on the blocking mat. I'm opening my advent calendar, which was really making me happy. I had so much fun at this moment. No one was knowing what I was doing. It felt as if I was doing something really secret, but also something very hard jumping. And I was unpacking all the little mini skeins. I will tell you more about the theme later, but I was so proud at my friend. She made such a colorful, beautiful advent calendar, and it was a very bright and sunny day at the end of October, and I was not disappointed at all that it was not a surprise anymore. I just was looking forward to the Advent period even more. And I suddenly completely understand why so many people are opening their advent calendars the moment they receive them. I always thought that they were not patient enough, but now I think they are actually very clever, because you just increase the joy of Advent. And of course it's personal, it's very personal, but I will definitely do it the same way next time. I have no doubts about it. I just had way more fun this way. I was very careful not messing up the order of the Me Little Mini skeins, but I really want to show them together. The theme of this advent calendar was John William Waterhouse, a British painter who lived at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, and he made the most beautiful paintings. And my friend Marlies, she visited I'm sorry, I needed to search for that word. Exhibition. In Dutch we call it an expositie. The exhibition was in the northern city Groningen, and it was called Betoverd door vrouwen, which means enchanted by women. During Advent in December 2025, Marlies made daily videos which she shared on her YouTube channel, and they are in Dutch, and I don't think they have English subtitles, but I will share a link to her channel anyway, so you can check it if you like it. She made daily videos in which she showed the painting the color of the day was based on, and she gave us a little bit of background information, and she showed her own crochet project which she made with the yarns. It was such a lovely time. It was really a special gift. It was the first time I had an advent calendar with something extra. Normal, I only had the yarn, and that was also making me happy, but just the little videos every day were giving it a little bit of an extra story and made it extra special. As I said, I didn't tell my friends. I already had a sneak peek, and it was my plan to just knit something in the order Marlies planned her advent calendar, so I could just follow the daily order. But in the days before Advent, when I was really thinking what to make of it, I had a very strong feeling that I did want to hustle the colors. I want to make my own order, and that was the moment I decided that my project would be a secret one, because I couldn't share it with my friends, and also not on my social media, because then I would reveal the colors too early, because I was using them in my own order. I didn't want to do that, of course. So I had no other choice than keeping it all for myself. And that was, in the beginning, it was actually quite nice to have a project which I didn't share on social media, especially because in the beginning I had no idea if my plan would work out the way I wanted it to be. But later in the process I really missed the sharing part, so I'm really happy that I can show you what I knitted today. I am still working on my 2024 advent calendars. I had two, and I'm making blankets of them, two different ones. So I was sure I didn't want to make another blanket, and I decided to make a garment of it. I couldn't really find a pattern. I was doubting between some patterns, but then I realized I didn't really want a stripy garment, so I decided to make up my own. You can't avoid stripes when you are knitting a garment with an advent calendar at all, but I decided to use the colorwork chart from Summer Lee Designs, from her, how it's called, her Colorwork Cuff Club, volume 1. August had a sock with a colorwork chart which was based on granny stripes. And I am a big crochet granny stripes lover. It's absolutely my favorite stitch. So I thought how nice it would be to knit my advent calendar in the granny stripes. So I did do that. I filled my basket. I had an extra brown color, specially dyed for me. A Sarah brown, very dark brown, 2 skeins. I was inspired by another friend who ordered some green skeins to combine with the advent calendar to knit a blanket, and then I realized I want my own main color as well, and of course I chose brown, and Marlies dyed those beautiful skeins for me, so the ribbing I could use my very dark brown, and I also added 'dark brown' granny stripes in the whole project. As I said, I didn't use a pattern for this garment. I checked some patterns I already had, which were also knitted in fingering weight and which also attends color work. So I decided to cast on, I don't even know the amount, I think it was over 300 stitches for the right fit. It was my plan from the beginning to make a longer garment. So normally I make my cardigans and sweaters quite short so I can wear them on my dresses and skirts, but I really wanted to make a little bit of a longer garment. I was not sure if I wanted to add sleeves as well, and I decided when I was at the point I needed to make a decision that I wanted to make a sleeveless vest, mainly because it's merino yarn, and I realized I really love the fabric. I realized that it would be a perfect garment to wear in summer and in spring and summer as well, over short sleeve t-shirts or even over a tank top when it's a little bit colder. So I decided to add stick stitches. I already did that for the button band on the front, at the front, I need to say, I guess. And I also added stick stitches at the armholes. And it was quite a challenge because this way my garment, it got a little bit of a weird shape. And of course I couldn't fit it. So I really needed to guess if I was doing the right amount of decreases. I wanted to make it a V-shaped cardigan that seemed the most easiest option to me. So it was a little bit intuitive how many decreases I needed to add. And at some point I stopped. I was really worried my shoulder, the front parts would be way too narrow, but they were not at all. They even could be more narrow because I love that. So it was really exciting when I finally reinforced my stick stitches with the sewing machine and cut the garment open, because suddenly I had a really vest, an actual vest instead of a weird shaped knitting. And I enjoyed my first fit so well. It was really exciting, although I'm looking very serious. Maybe because it was so exciting. I spent so many hours knitting something and not knowing how it would turn out. And that was quite a risk. And I was really aware of that. I'm not a designer. I don't have the desire to become a designer. I also don't have the talent to become a designer, but I really want to design more for myself because I love the playing part. I love the trying part, and yeah, it is so really cool when it works out the way you want it to be, because yeah, I don't know, it's absolutely heart jumping moments. It really made me so happy, and I think it's good to explain at this point that only a few years back I was a crocheter who thought she could never knit, and now I can knit heart jumping things without using patterns, and that's a development I never expected. And I think many knitters will agree that knitting is much easier than you think it is. I don't say it is easy, and I really needed to practice a lot. I knitted a lot, and I really needed to knit all the things to understand how my knitting works and how constructions works. And still, I am absolutely not an advanced knitter. Construction wise, I'm not an adventurous knitter. I always knit very plain basic constructions, but just realizing I have the confidence now to try and to play, it makes me so happy. It's absolutely heart jumping, and it is. I can only recommend trying it if you feel the need for it too. It's absolutely okay if you don't feel the need to play around yourself. I think we are all different, and that's one of the good things of people. And don't expect things of yourself you don't feel that inner sparkle with. But if you do feel it, don't be too afraid. I was quite afraid, always thinking that things would be too hard for me, that I would never be able to do it, and yeah, that was just not true. After cutting the sticks, I picked up stitches for the ribbing, and I also knit some facings at the inside to hide the stick. That's not particularly necessary, but I just love that neat edging at the inside. I don't love ugly backsides. I really prefer lovely insides and lovely backsides of my knitting. Yeah, I just can't handle rough ends in the inside. I must confess it's easier for me with sewing. I don't mind rough insides with sewing, but with knitting I don't like it. So I decided to add some facings, and the way I do it is I just pick up stitches for the ribbing, as you always do for a lot of knitted garments. And before I started knitting the ribbing, I knit one round all the stitches without knits and purls, just knit them so you get purl sides at the wrong side and the inside of your garment. And for the facing, I pick up a stitch in every purl bump at the inside. And as you can imagine, it was really a challenge with this fingering weight dark brown yarn to see all the purl bumps, to pick up every stitch. It was really a time-consuming task. So it took me quite some effort. When you are knitting with a DK weight or a worsted weight, it's so much more easy to see what you are doing. But I managed to do it all, and yeah, it's looking nice and neat. And of course it's extra fabric, so when you are making a facing at the inside of your sticked garment, you see a little bit of a thicker fabric. And I can also imagine people don't like that. When I wouldn't have knit the facing, it would be more flat. But for me, this was more important. So it's just something you need to consider yourself, and you need to find out where your preferences are. When I was doing a quick fit session in between, I just finished one armhole, I discovered something with the ribbing I actually already knew. When I'm making sleeveless vests, quite often the ribbing at the bottom of the armhole under my armpit is a little bit standing out. And I made quite some sleeveless vests in 2025, and that problem was happening over and over again. And I discovered that I can avoid that standing out ribbing by binding off some stitches at the underarm while I'm knitting them together. So normally when I bind off stitches, I knit one and knit another one, and I pass one over the other one. But now, as you can see, I knit two stitches together and then bind them off. And for this one, I did it with the first 20 stitches. The beginning of round was under my armhole with the first 20 and the last 20. And as you can see, this way it's much better. It's nice and neat, and it's not flaring out under my armpit. I have two skeins of my dark brown main color, and I just need to break in the second one quite close to the finish line. I only need to finish one armhole ribbing and one facing, I guess, but this is a perfect moment to show you the beautiful yarn skein. It's a very dark brown color, which she called Sarah. That's absolutely lovely, having your own colorway. And it's dark brown with a little bit of green and black in it. It's absolutely gorgeous. While I was finishing my Advent project, my other finished object is drying the front porch sweater for my son. I really struggled with the bind off of the ribbing of the body, but it is okay now. I crocheted one and it worked out pretty good, so it is dry now. My son is not at home this week, so I will try it on myself. This fit is absolutely way too oversized for me, but I must confess I feel so good in a dropped shoulder construction every time that I really need such a sweater myself. I love the end result. It is so beautiful. The cables are so beautiful in the perikelen yarn. The line at the shoulder, it is such a clean and fresh construction, and I really love the end result. It's absolutely HeartJumping. I'm really proud, and yeah, what can I say? It is a gorgeous sweater. And a few days later, my son came home and he did fit the sweater. We didn't take any footage, but it suits him very well. So we are both happy. So here, back to the Advent project. My blocking mats are free right now, so I can put it in the blocking top. It's a little bit exciting to block this garment because of all the colors. I'm a little bit worried about color bleeding, so I decided not to block it too long. Normally I leave it in the blocking top for at least one night. No, not for at least, for one night. But now I will only block it a few hours, and I also added quite some vinegar to secure the colors, just to be sure that there will not be any color bleeding. So yeah, there is my finished object, unblocked yet. Really curious how the fabric will change because of the non-superwash merino. I noticed that the threads, the yarn ends I had, they softened up quite some. So I expect the blocking process to influence the fabric at least a little bit. Of course, it's not only knitting I do during my week. I also do a lot of other things in and around the house, and today's daily task is doing the laundry, a very black, boring one. But I must confess, when I alternate my course with my creative projects, it is very satisfying. This is my Advent project so far. If you want to see me wear it, please check my Instagram or my Dutch episodes. Now I finally finished my sun sweaters and my Advent project. It is time for some playing, and today I will do some embroidery. As you can see at the right bottom of my Syli cardigan, there is a little piece of brown fabric. A few weeks ago I mended that part. I was standing too close to the fireplace, so quite some spot was burned and the wool was really damaged right there. So I cut out the damaged fabric and knitted a little piece of brown, actually a little swatch, which I sewn down, and I want to finish it with a woolly tattoo. So I picked my embroider stuff. I have a little collection of embroider instructions which I received when I was following a workshop many years ago. It was the only workshop I did, and it was just enough to give me the knowledge to embroider a little bit. I'm absolutely not an advanced embroider, but I am really having fun while I'm doing it, and it feels a bit as if I'm doodling, something you do with a pencil, but then I do it with yarn, and I can be a perfectionist quite often, but I am not while I'm embroider, and that feels really free and creative. So I always have fun adding embroider to my knitting. I don't really use patterns. I have a few examples from the workshop, and sometimes I search for embroider flowers. I mainly embroider flowers on Pinterest, and I draw them with a pencil on Vlies. I don't know the English word for it, but it's that special kind of, not really fabric, but it's a little bit of a facing stuff, which will disappear when it got wet. So you can draw your embroider pattern on it and then embroider over it with a sharp needle and some yarn. And when you make it wet, the solu fleece will disappear and only the woolly tattoo will stay. And that works really good. Every now and then I embroider by hand, but that's quite more challenging. It only works with very simple patterns. I am really happy how it all turned out. I think it would have been the most cleanest option when I just shortened the cardigan. Maybe a shorter fit would even suit me better than the length it has now. But I am so happy I did not do that, because now it's quite remarkable and it's a very clear and visible reminder that I was able to turn one of my disappointments, because I felt really disappointed when I burned my cardigan, into a heart jumping moment. I love the brown knitted fabric. I love the embroidery on it. I love the Sarah sauce which is over it, and it made my cardigan, which I already loved very much, even more more heart jumping. I think I love it even more because of this special touch. So I'm really happy I did choose this option. And also, accidentally, I discovered, I actually understand how it works, and I also know how it works, but after blocking this cardigan for the second time, it really softened up. It's quite a rough yarn. It was gifted to me. So I don't know, I think it's quite old, very sustainable sheep yarn. It's really rough, but by blocking it again, it became a lot softer, and that's an extra surprise. So the cardigan was already very much appreciated by myself, but now even more. So this was it for this week. As you can see, I have other boring stuff to do, and I will finish the vacuuming and then I will knit again. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, and I hope to see you next week. Bye bye!